In the morning, 100.7 The Bay. My name is Hubert, joined in studio by Noted Weirdo producer Steve Campbell, avid Orioles fan Steve Campbell, and sports guy Jerry Coleman is on the phone. You've been doing sports in this town for a long time, but probably watching sports in this town for an even longer time. And the sports world in Baltimore received some sad news yesterday. Mr. Brooks Robinson passed away at 86 years of age. And Jerry, just wanted to get your thoughts on the passing of Brooks Robinson.
Well, such a sad day, Huber. He was and will always be Mr. Oriole. There was no one more beloved than Brooks, and that includes Cal and Jim and Eddie and Frank. Brooks was a guy who was a man of the people. He never turned down an autograph, never turned down a picture opportunity. There's not a sports fan growing up in Baltimore who doesn't have a Brooks Robinson autograph. The only way you don't is because you never encountered him or never knew someone who knew him, because he signed countless autographs, took a lot of pictures, as I said, was as gracious a superstar athlete as there ever was. And he will be remembered forever. And, you know, I got a chance to meet him on several occasions. Again, always first class, and not to mention a Gold Glove third baseman over 16 consecutive times. And, you know, probably the greatest third baseman ever, if not the best, and certainly one of the best human beings I've ever been around. So there can't be enough superlatives for number 5, Huber.
Now, I know that in his playing days, they called him the vacuum because nothing got by him. He would just grab every ball that went near him. They call me that when it comes to barbecue, but that's about the extent of it. But I am 46 years old, and Brooks Robinson was not from my era. I understood his importance based on, you know, growing up here and talking to people who watched and studied the game back before I was able to do so. But tell us a little bit just about the impact he had on the franchise and the game in general.
Well, I mean, he was very familiar with the current team. He came and spoke to them last year before his health started to fail. He also is a guy that, you know, used to be a broadcaster for the team. He was an ambassador of late. Obviously, he's a guy that would go down and help at spring training. One of his greatest impacts is the way that so many sports fans around Baltimore, men and women, name their children after Brooks. There's a lot of Brookses running around Baltimore and around the country, and that's because of Brooks Robinson. I mean, there weren't many Brooks around, and a lot of people felt so great about this guy that they felt comfortable naming their child after him.
Yeah, I know.
That's the greatest honor.
You're right. The late Dave Sandler, his son Brooks Sandler, is named after Brooks Robinson. I never thought about
Correct.
that. Yeah.
Correct. Yes, he was one of many.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, and it's just kind of the end of an era. You know, there was a beloved sports figures in this town, like Artie Donovan comes to mind, and Brooks, where you just kind of took for granted that they were still here, and he's part of a class of guys that's kind of no longer around.
No, I remember when Camden Yards got going and when the Ravens started to open up and they had Johnny Unitas throw a football to Brooks Robinson, who threw a baseball back to Johnny Unitas. And those are two of the great legends.
Wow.
They obviously still have statues around. Brooks has 2 statues. He has one across the street, of course, from the stadium, and then they finally decided to build one for him along with the other Oriole Hall of Famers, and they're allowing Oriole fans to go visit that statue and pay honor to Brooks, the Orioles are, before tonight's game against the Nationals. So if you want to do that, you can head out towards the statue area at Camden Yards and pay homage to, obviously, a guy that we're going to be talking about for days. I mean, it was national news coverage last night. That's going to continue the rest of the week. He had such an impact, not only locally, but nationally.
Do you think the current roster of players understands the impact of Brooks, not only on the game, but on this town?
I think so, by watching the highlights and getting the opportunity, Hubert, to be able to meet him earlier in the season. He came and spoke to the team and gave him a pep talk. It was last season, I should say. But he's communicated with a lot of the guys. So a lot of the current players are familiar with all the accolades and realizing that this was a guy who was inducted into the Hall of Fame back in 1983 and as a Hall of Fame human being, as I've said repeatedly. I mean, I just can't express enough how much of a great loss this is for the city of Baltimore.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for getting up early and hanging out with us here this morning. Jerry Coleman, you'll be hearing more from Jerry on the Huber in the Morning program as we mourn the loss of Brooks Robinson. Thanks so much, Jerry. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Yeah.
Huber in the Morning.